People who are not yet vaccinated at all will have to depend on remote access to these gatherings. So from the second week of September, people may not be allowed to worship in churches and mosques without showing proof of their vaccination cards at the gates. Similarly, people will not be allowed to event centers for parties or receptions without showing proof of their vaccination cards at the gates of these occasions. We have made adequate arrangements with security to prevent anybody who does not have a vaccination card from accessing any of these events. Also, you will not be allowed to access banking services in Edo State from the middle of September if you have not been vaccinated.
So, there you have it. The sitting governor of Edo State, a state in Nigeria, is out there dishing out orders that I would best describe as draconian totalitarian orders over vaccination. So in case you didn't quite understand what he was saying, the man was saying clearly that from the second week in September, mid-September 2021, every single person who lives in Edo State would have to provide or present a proof of their vaccination before they could ever access their worship centers like churches, mosques, or even access banking services. And they have made arrangements with the security operatives to enforce these laws. Compulsory vaccination 101 in Edo State. Did we warn that stuff like this would happen or not? We did. Now in Edo State, if this was not challenged in court, because it was, what this man was planning to do is to make sure that if you didn't have your vaccination proof, you were going to stay at home and depend on remote access to all these things that make our lives worth living. People go to church all the time, or they go to mosque, or they go to shopping malls, or they attend weddings or events and stuff like that. You can no longer do that under this draconian law if you did not have a proof of your vaccination. Now, my question is, what happens to all those exceptions that come with taking the jab? There is that thing that we call religious exception. You can look it up. There is something like that. What happened to that? What about exceptions on health grounds? What about people who say, I don't want to take the vaccine because of my religious belief? What about people who say, no, because of the precarious health condition that I have been suffering from for so long, I may not be able to take the vaccine. It's going to make it worse. What happened to those things, those people who will say, for this reason or that reason, I actually cannot take the vaccine? And these are not made up reasons. These are viable reasons why they can't take the vaccine. So you make a law and you don't give people any option. You don't give them a plan B. You just say, you must do it. Tell me if this is not the finest version of communistic, totalitarian, draconian regime that there is anywhere on earth. And we are talking about Africa. This is not China. This is Africa, Nigeria. And here's the question, because I always like to ask pertinent questions. I don't come with my own ideas. I just want to ask questions on behalf of the many people who may not be able to ask those questions on their own. My question is this. Truth be told, we've seen people who die from COVID-19. We've seen people who suffer from COVID-19. I mean, come on. Are you going to gainsay that? There's no gainsaying it. We know. And truth be told, this is not the first time that Africa has come to deal with stuff like COVID-19. Africa has been dealing with viruses and diseases longer than I have been alive. We know that. But my question here is hunger not a more dangerous and devastating and daring killer than COVID-19 as of today? Is hunger not as infectious as it is contagious? What is it that has happened to our African leaders that we are kowtowing to all these things and we are not asking the right questions? People have been asking too many questions about COVID-19 vaccine and the virus itself. Nobody is making any effort to answer all these questions. They simply just come out and label conspiracy theory. And you expect that everybody should just go home and sleep. You are literally telling us to lose our humanity by not asking objective questions. If we don't understand something, can't we ask questions? As leaders, can't you give us answers rather than telling us to shut up and just fall in line and do what you want us to do? Governor Obaseki, you and your co-travelers, and even the federal agencies, can you guys beat your chest and say, yes, we've done a fantastic job of explaining to our people or answering the questions that our people have over these issues relating to the vaccine and the virus? Can you do that? What stops a those state government or any other government for that matter from saying, as from the middle of September, anybody we find trying to access banking services or access worship centers without going to get enough food to eat or in empty stomach, we will ban you from accessing those places. You can no longer access banking services or your worship centers or attend events or go to a wedding party if you have not eaten enough food. What stops the governor or anyone like him from doing that? Knowing that hunger is the greatest killer on the continent of Africa, and more so in Nigeria. Nigeria recently became the poverty capital of the world. What does that tell you? That arguably there are more hungry people in Nigeria than almost any other place on earth. What happens to taking care of that situation? When have we lived to see the government make mandatory rules or mandates that everybody must eat so that we can be healthy? What has the government done about dietary solutions to keep our immune system boosted so that we don't die if the government really doesn't want us to die? During the COVID-19 situation, even when people donated money and foodstuff and said, go and feed people who are hungry because of COVID-19 lockdown, the same government that is today coming to force people to take vaccine actually hoarded the food. The palliatives that were given for the people, and this is actually the real vaccine that our people needed. Those palliatives are the best, the most effective vaccine that you can ever find on the continent of Africa. That same vaccine was hidden in warehouses and kept to be used for election campaign by wicked, heartless leaders in Nigeria. But you want to force the same people you starved during COVID-19 lockdown, you want to force them to take vaccines that they have questions over. Who would have had any questions over the palliatives? You cannot bring food to a hungry man and he'll be asking you, yes, what is the make? When is it? Nobody would have asked that question. They would have taken and eaten a hungry man's. The answer to a hungry man alone is just food. We don't care. You don't want us to transmit the COVID-19 disease to other people. That's why you want everybody to be vaccinated, whether they like it or not. Compulsory vaccination. Well, let me read you something. You know, several months ago, when the news started showing up on internet, different doctors, medical professionals of conscience started coming out saying, oh, we need to be careful because even this vaccine, when you take it, you can still transmit the disease to someone else. You know, it still doesn't mean that you are clear, that you are out of the woods and all of that. Many people came after them. All the websites, all the accounts, social media accounts of the doctors that did this have been shut down. Facebook, YouTube, they say you are misleading the public. You want people to die. This is conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory is very dangerous. Let me read you today, finally. World Health Organization's page on Facebook has come out. They made the post. I am not making this up. I'm going to read it to you. Even after getting vaccinated, keep taking precautions to protect yourself, family, and friends. Now, look at the real kicker here. The COVID-19 vaccine is highly effective, but a small percentage of people will still get ill from COVID-19 even after vaccination. It hasn't stopped there. It goes further. It says, you could also pass the virus on to others who are not vaccinated. That is after you have been vaccinated yourself. So finally, WHO is admitting the same thing that everybody called conspiracy theory. That after getting vaccinated, that you can still transmit the virus to people who... So those of you, WHO says is a small percentage. Now let's just work with their own assessment. So let's say that small percentage of people can transmit. Why should vaccination be made mandatory? It's my simple question and I need answers. Please, I come in peace. I haven't come here to fight anybody. This is their own admission that after receiving a small percentage, how do we know the percentage that we're talking about as small? How do we know the number in this small percentage? How do you quantify what they call small? The truth is that they have finally eaten the humble pie and they have admitted now. First of all, he said that small percentage of people will still get ill from COVID-19 after receiving the vaccination. The same small percentage can still transmit it to others after receiving vaccination. Why is it then made mandatory? Do you see what is happening? That's why sometimes we say, you know what, this thing is just beyond concerns for our health. It's way more than just wishing, oh, I want you to be healthy, I want you to be fine. It's beyond that. Come clean, tell us what is going on. You say you don't want to answer the questions we have. You don't want to tell us what we need to know, and yet you're compelling us. It's like everybody should just shut up and keep going, just keep moving. Don't say a word, keep going, just go, take it. The Bible says, you will not buy, you will not sell unless you have the mark of the beast. Even though what they are giving you may not appear as a mark of the beast. Why is it that the rules and the laws around this thing they are giving has every single similarity with the ones surrounding the receiving of the mark of the beast? If this is not a pointer to what is to come, I don't know what is. This is why I make my videos. To warn the saints of God, to let you know that what you read in the scriptures, it is not fiction. This is reality that must come to pass. I want to show you that Edo State is not alone. You know, when he did that thing, it was challenged in court. The caption here says, court restrains Edo government from barring unvaccinated people from public places. Why did the court take the initiative to restrain the government? Because this is an abuse of our basic human rights. When you hear totalitarian regime, when you hear draconian regime, when you hear authoritarian regime, when you hear satanic communistic regimes, you're looking at regimes that thrive on infringing on your basic human rights. And these are the regimes that will usher in the Antichrist into the world. This is exactly what our governors are manifesting right before our own eyes. Can you see for yourself? If it wasn't that he was abusing your right, your human right, without any option, without any plan B, the court would not have restrained him. But guess what? They are still going to win. If they don't win today, they will win tomorrow or the day after. Watch, you will see for yourself. Because this is a part of a global agenda to cage all of humanity and eventually, begin to mass depopulate our world. So after they restrain him, you think the guy will now keep quiet? No. Look at it here. It says Obaseki challenges court injunction on compulsory vaccination. Why is he challenging? I told you they're going to win. They're going to eventually win. The court will cave. It's a human being sitting in that court. They're going to give way. Of course, is it not Nigeria? This is Africa. They will give way. And they're going to win. The guy went to challenge it because the compulsory vaccination must go forward. For you to know that it must go forward, I want you to look at this caption here. It says, government must compulsory COVID-19 vaccination. This is Nigerian government at the federal level. They are already threatening people. If you don't get the vaccine, we are going to deal with you. It's in the news. You can check it all over the place. Okay, let me read you something. Let me read it for you. It says here, vaccination against COVID-19 will soon become compulsory, the federal government said on Thursday. Presently, vaccination is voluntary. Government workers will be first to be mandated to take the jab when the planned policy begins, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, said. They will be first to be mandated. Government workers. They are going to do this in phases. I remember telling somebody something like this last year, 2020, and they laughed me almost to scorn. This is it happening right now. He spoke in Abuja at a conference by the Health Commission. However, the government will ensure mass availability of vaccine before implementation of the plan. Already, the government has made vaccination compulsory for Nigerians going on pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia and Israel. Now, listen to this one. Ondo State government took the first step towards compulsory vaccination when on Monday, its State Executive Council, SEC, approved a proposal for compulsory vaccination of residents. Edo State is just one of the many states in Nigeria that will eventually cave and dish out these same draconian orders to their own residents. Ondo has done it. Ondo, look at it here, is in front of you. State Executive Council in Ondo State approved it, the proposal. They sat and approved the proposal for compulsory. So if you're in Ondo State right now, your SEC has already approved the proposal for compulsory vaccination. Why? Because without it, these governments will collapse. They will not live. This is a law from above. I am only warning you, not as if there's too much we can do, really, but to let you know that it has come. It is here now. The Nigerian government says it will be mandatory very soon nationwide. So what you're seeing is implementation in phases from the states. They are implementing it in phases from the states. Okay. I hope that you'll be prepared. Then let me read you something so that you know that this is part of a global plan. It's not just Nigeria. It is going to go around the whole of Africa. It's going to go everywhere. Let me read you something.